Back to the Politoxic Podcast. I'm your host, Little Miss VRB,
And I'm Sari Beth Rosenberg.
and we're here to bring you guys the most toxic topics in the news cycle this week. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. So, big pause, big breath.
That's
It's like
right.
the Dochi song. What good timing for that song.
Seriously.
I won't even try to do it, but everyone knows what we're referencing, the Dochi song where she does the breathing exercises.
We could use a little
Ooh.
of that in our lives, I think.
I was gonna say, how are you doing? But I think I know. We are currently not awaiting, but living in a fascist time, like for real. No hyperbole, right?
None. Um, and I think all of us are struggling in some way or another, but what I'm having the most hard of a time with this week is I'm very curious, why isn't more people saying something at this point? I mean, there's influencers and people like us that are on the internet every day, talking about how dangerous this is, but I'm really surprised at the lack of communication, specifically from former presidents. We haven't heard a blip from anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's very clear that there is a hostile takeover of our government. There's by Donald Trump and by proxy Elon Musk, right? I mean, or Elon Musk, I don't know. I don't know who's in charge here, but whatever's happening, it's basically we're living during a coup. And I think if we see it, then former presidents see it. And I just don't understand why people aren't screaming from the rooftops. Now, I've seen some people say, like James Carville recently wrote about this and spoke about, he said they're just waiting for it to just all fall apart. You're already seeing people go to town hall meetings, Republicans and Republican districts pushing back. And so the argument I've heard is they're just waiting for everyone to freak out. In that time period, we might have already lost our government, right?
It took Hitler 56 days to completely take over Germany, and we're getting closer to that number here. And for me, it just seems it's very apparent that that's their full intention is to disband and disarm every single extremity from our government. But what I'm having a hard time understanding is for months we heard Biden and everybody talking about what an existential threat this was to all of us. And now, after what I feel like being handed over to them, these leaders are nowhere to be seen. Um, and I find that so concerning, and I want to hear more, most specifically from the former presidents, but I would love to hear more from the Democratic Party. I think at this stage, someone needs to be addressing us in some sort of way past call your representatives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to see some sort of plan of action of what they intend to do, and a little bit more empathy to us, rather than just telling us to call other representatives and
Mm.
not them. So I'm having a little bit of frustration with things right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. I
quite
mean,
frankly.
I was lucky enough to, well, I went down to a federal workers union protest last week, and AOC was there, Representative AOC, and she is incredible. And she was, her speech, as you can, you posted, I posted, we posted everywhere. She said exactly what we want to hear, but we need to hear that so like from everyone,
From
everyone.
everybody across the board.
I mean, listen, Biden has done a lot, but he tried his best, right? But to warn us and to help Harris make it across the finish line. But when he warned of oligarchy taking over government of our government,
Yeah.
that was unlike him to give a speech like that. So I
Right.
think, I mean, you and I and everyone who follows stuff so crazy in such a down to the minutia, we weren't surprised by that speech. We saw it coming. But again, not to keep saying it, but like, where is everyone?
I don't, I'm not sure. We did
Now,
see a couple of leaders come
we and
forward.
I will say, it's a lot of times I'm noticing a trend, which is women, female leaders tend to, yes, there are some great men out there who are talking about this and standing up for us, but I was about to call her President Harris. I literally almost called her President Harris. Former Vice President Kamala Harris received an NAACP award, and she gave a really good speech. I mean, she basically said, we have no illusions about what we are up against in this chapter in our American history. She said, adding this chapter will be written by the people, not simply by whoever occupies the Oval Office, nor by the wealthiest among us. She spoke about the shadows over our democracy, the flames on our horizons, and the rising waters in our cities, in a seeming reference to the poll, but basically like what Trump is doing to our political system in our country. Um, she quoted one of the NAACP's founding members, scholar and activist W.E.B. Du Bois, with this great quote: "It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year." So, listen, that was excellent. That inspired me. It also depressed me because I just have the song "Didn't We Almost Have It All" by Whitney Houston in my head when
I
I
think
think
I
of it.
used that somewhere in like a story or something, but
Yes,
I agree with you 100%. Watching her when it felt like we could have had this.
what have had
And
this. Oh,
it's it's such a shame. And then also something that was really difficult to watch was all of the faces in the crowd. They were showing
oh,
close-ups of a lot of women of color watching
yeah,
her speak.
yeah,
And it's just such a disappointment on so many levels that we didn't have her. But again, like to reiterate what you were saying, it's AOC, it's Kamala Harris.
Jasmine Crockett, Representative Jasmine
Jasmine
Crockett,
Crockett.
right?
I can't remember her name, the governor of Maine, who he
Oh,
basically,
Wells. Well,
7
yeah,
basically threatened the other day. And I'm just so proud of the women. Speaking of amazing women using their platforms, because I think it's not only important for people who are political influencers to be talking about these things. I want to know where the pop stars are. I want to know
yes, me
where
too.
Taylor Swift is. Like, where are you at, girl?
Yeah, yes,
Like
thank
you were
you.
so outspoken before, and now I feel like anyone who isn't using their platform, who has influence and an audience to speak out against this, is complicit at this point.
Yeah.
But I loved seeing Jane Fonda's amazing speech
Oh,
last night for her Lifetime Achievement Award, which was basically completely directed at getting everybody amplified to go and do something. And the woman is a saint. She's been an activist for longer than I've been alive, but watching her last night was so inspiring. How did you feel about
oh,
her
I
speech?
felt the same way. And I mean, I agree. I think she's an activist more than, I mean, she's an amazing actress.
Right.
She,
Oh,
I think in her heart, she's an activist. That is who she is. And I mean, fun fact, like all those Jane Fonda movies, they helped fund this, like her husband at the time, Tom Hayden, and his whole 1960s like anti-war movement and his resistance movement. So she's an activist. And she, again, a woman, stood up there bravely. And she said something that I say a lot. Maybe she stole it from me. I'm just kidding. But you know, when I play these documentaries for my students of activists standing on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, civil rights activists, like John Lewis, right, dealing with blows from the cops. You see, we watch these videos of people resisting the Nazis from before, and I think a lot of us watched that stuff in history class and said, well, I hope I would have been that that person. And she said, we're in that part of the documentary where you are going to be that person or not. And that I needed to hear that because like it's hard because I talk to people at work and I work with some amazing teachers and they all feel the same way as us. We're fighting for these kids. I have students who are trans who are like, I want to change my name, but like I'm scared to apply for a passport now because I saw what happened with that actress, or you know, some stories they've seen. Um, And so, but I think a lot of people are scared to speak out, right? And I get it. And they have, it's in their hearts to do it. But I'm glad that Jane Fonda said, I hope it inspires some people who
Yeah.
understand in their hearts how bad it is, but might not feel like it's worth it or they should do it. I don't know, stuff like that. I don't know. What do you think?
I love that she was in a room with all people of influence and money and power in Hollywood. Because, like I said earlier, it's not as easy for the everyday person to go out and do this type of thing that we do and create the type of content that
No,
we create.
no.
However, I think that celebrities that have these platforms and money and power and influence in their own way, like the amazing ones like Billie Eilish and people that
Yeah.
stand out, I want to see more people and I want to see more men stepping up and
Thank
saying
you.
this isn't okay. Why is it that women are the ones who are going to the front lines to fight this thing? I'm going to bring up another incident as well, which I don't want to go too deeply into this because I am heavily emotionally impacted by it.
Yeah.
But watching what went down in Idaho
Yes.
last week, where a woman who is a doctor and was speaking about women losing their lives due to archaic abortion laws was
Yeah.
hogtied, assaulted, and taken out of this town hall meeting by unelected not even police officers, by security guards, but the and all of that is so heinous and disgusting. But the biggest problem for me watching it and what made me so ill was that there was a room full of people, both men and women, and
Yes.
nobody did anything. And
Not
nobody,
one.
all they were doing was pulling out their phones and putting it on the internet,
Yeah.
which that's wonderful because now it's all out there and there's going to be a lot of heat on these
Oh, yeah.
people.
There's
Something
better
like
be. There better be.
but over my dead body, will I ever watch anyone,
No.
white, black, indigenous, Hispanic, trans, gay? I don't care if they're purple.
Yeah.
Over my dead body, will I
Uh-huh.
ever
Uh-huh.
stand by and watch something like that happen? And the last thing I'm going to say about this is, we see these memes and things on the internet in reference to the Holocaust. And um, before this election, it was what would you do if you were in this
Yeah.
situation? How
Yeah.
would you act? Would you stand out? Would you say something? And that moment is here.
It
And
is.
so anyone who is not saying something is complying with it and saying that they accept it. And so I'm just really hoping, I feel like, you and I were talking about this privately earlier. I think a lot of people are starting to get more angry,
I
and
do
they
too.
absolutely should. Not that
Yeah.
we're fear-mongering, but every single thing that both you and I have been posting about for 5 years, even longer than that for you.
Longer.
It's
Yeah.
all happening. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but I would love to challenge everyone to do something to stop it. Say
Yeah.
something. If you see
Say
something,
something.
say something. If
Yeah.
something is unjust, don't stand there and accept that. That's
Yeah.
just how we fall. And
Yeah.
56 days is not that long, and we're getting really close to what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, and it's all in those pages, right? Project 2025. And here's the thing, I get it. Most people aren't as brazen and crazy as us in terms of like posting online. And sometimes I wonder what's wrong with me that I keep posting, knowing the climate that we're in. Same with you. Like every morning we're like, I'm gonna take it easy today. And then I'm posting like, you're either on one side or the other. And like I even went on X and like said F Elon Musk and then deleted it because I was like, oh wait, what am I doing? Like, am
Not the
I just
bad
asking
place.
to?
Not
Am I
the
just?
bad
I'm in the
place.
bad place. I'm being asked to send to Gitmo. But um, I get it. Like some people are even scared to even like they're lurking and they're even scared to like anything, so their name pops up. And I mean, I don't get it because I'm not like that, but go find community then. Like if you don't want to be doing it in social media, go to your local town hall. Even if you're in a progressive district, go there.
Oh,
Like that's the thing. And I was talking to someone the other day who was a political organizer, and that person was basically saying like, influencing is only gets you so far. You need people to be out there and organizing in community in real life. And especially now that we really just have lost the federal government, a lot of the action is going to be in your states, in your towns, make community there because we need all hands on deck right now. And I get it that everyone's busy. Everyone has jobs and kids and husbands to take care of and maybe wives to take care of. It's always people taking care of their husbands. That's a different conversation. But even if it's one thing a month, one thing a week, we need
Right.
everyone who is on the side of anti-fascism, anti-Nazis, anti-oligarchy, anti-Project 2025 to do something right now.
Say something, go to these town hall meetings, like you just said. We've got some special elections that are coming up.
Yes.
Everyone's eyes need to be on that. I would love to see the Democratic Party a lot louder about these areas where we can pick up seats and actually make a difference in Congress because it is
Yes.
possible. We only need a couple. We need like
So,
three and
yeah,
everything could change. So I really would love to see support everywhere for from everyone. I feel like this is we're at a red alarm moment
yeah.
and we're very close to the edge. We talk about the roller coaster theory all the time and we have already crested the
Oh,
hill of
we're going down,
we've already
baby.
crested the peak. We're on the downhill swing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And then just today, uh I watched Joy Reid's The Readout. I watched her last show. So I, honestly, that made me cry because I wrote this somewhere. She's been my North Star. Like there's a handful of journalists right now that are still on cable news that speak truth to power. Don't cave. Say it like it is. Use the F word, fascism, right? She
yep,
had a whole series teaching her viewers about Project 2025, and her last show was tonight. Katie Fang, who we love, she's losing her show. Jonathan Capehart, Lester Holt on
Jim Acosta as well, like a week
yeah,
ago.
Tim Acosta, Eamon, also on MSNBC. Lester Holt, NBC Nightly News. Do you see the pattern? Are you
Of
guys seeing the pattern? Who
course.
are they firing?
This is this is a direct pipeline to state-run TV, which
Yes.
is what happens in the country of Russia,
Yeah.
which is very much what our political climate is starting to mirror, and it's going to continue to get worse. But what he's doing is he is demonizing and putting targets on anyone who is speaking out, fact-checking him
Yeah.
or saying
Well,
anything that does not put him and his administration in a positive light. But
yeah.
this is one of the first things that Hitler did, which was
Yes.
purge the press.
Purge the
And
press.
I sincerely believe that after the press, it is going to move on to independent press or influencers and people like us who are speaking out.
Yeah.
We're at a really dangerous point. And
We really are. We really, really are. And I'm gonna keep speaking out. Like I definitely have mornings when I wake up and I'm like, is this dumb? I'm gonna keep speaking out as long as I
agreed,
can until they
agreed.
pull the plug on us. Because again, Jane Fonda, the Queen herself, inspired me last night. She said, "This is the moment in the documentary, and we're in it. So why am
I've
I
just
gonna be
had a light
quiet?
bulb moment. I just had a light bulb moment.
Tell me."
We get together, Kamala Harris, Jane Fonda, Joy Reid, Katie Fang, and a bunch of other female creators and journalists. Molly Jung Fast, you can come along too.
Yes, we love
Mueller
you.
She Wrote, JoJo from Jers. We get together, all the biggest women, and now I think would be a perfect time to start an independent women's news media outlet
Yes.
because in our genre of content creation, there's a lot of really large platforms that are doing amazing things. Huge shout out to them. There is no space for ladies.
No,
There's no
there it
space for women. And on all of these male-centric, left-leaning platforms,
is.
there isn't enough women, or
No,
there's one woman that does not represent like a quarter of us, like as a
right.
whole. And I don't understand. You know me. I've been saying
Yeah.
this shit for a while,
Yeah,
but
it's true.
I don't understand why we don't pull together and put together a women's network right now. So
Hmm.
because we have voices and audiences and communities, and we can move mountains here.
Oh, yeah.
So if
I
any of the
agree.
things that I just
Yes,
listed
like Elizabeth
listening, give us a
Booker,
call. We have
AP,
ideas. We have
luncheon
ideas.
lawyer. Yeah,
Call us.
Yeah, literally, we all when we were friends with most of them, but we need to have a powwow because and also shout out we're a part of this the Persist network.
Huge shout out to
And
them and good
honestly,
luck to them tomorrow.
no, they already did it.
Today? Was
Did
it
it today,
today?
and it went really well.
Fantastic.
It's in the chat. But
We
it
love
yeah, so they met they let the Hill know, and this is actually a network of
it.
women. So it's happening. Now we need to get into the media
We
space.
need to like throw the net out,
Yeah,
capture as many women that we can reach because I'm sure all of their audiences, just like ours, are mixed.
yeah.
But for me specifically, as a woman in this time, I'm seeking female voices.
Me
Like I
too.
don't want to hear what the guys have to say anymore. I don't
No,
be told by a man with privilege who is not at risk of really losing any of his rights whatsoever. I don't want to hear them talking about the issues that directly affect me. I
yep,
want to, and I also want to be around a women community. I know other women have to feel just as terrified as we do in this time, and I want to connect with them. So
yeah,
that's my hope for
yeah. And I
for
think we
these
can make it happen.
horrible things of happening that are letting our friends let go from these networks. And I hate to sound cheesy, but I think doors closing just means other doors
Oh,
opening. And I'm sure you share my sentiment in this. Joy and Katie, we will
yes,
follow you wherever you go. It
we
doesn't matter
will.
what platform you're on, it doesn't matter what network you're on. Even if you went to Fox News, I would tune in just for you.
Just for them.
That's a
Just for them.
but I'm being honest here with the loyalty that we have for these women. And I know both of them are heartbroken because they have put their entire lives and souls into bringing this information to us every single day. Joy, I saw a video of her. She was with them, I think, for 14 or 15 years.
Yes.
I know this has to be so horrible, but I want both of them to know that they are our aunties in resistance and we are ready to support them wherever they go.
Yeah, we will follow them everywhere. And I think they're already on Substack. So that
Yes.
and honestly, and that's the last thing I want to say related to the media shakeup.
And our
Substack.
little announcement. Should we give them our Substack announcement now?
Yeah, so we're gonna start a Substack and we're gonna figure out how to put this podcast on there and then it connects to Spotify. We'll figure it out. I don't know. I'll figure it out tonight because why not? But we are going to take this to Substack too. And I know that Joyanne Reed will be. Listen,
Everybody's there.
everyone's on Substack, and
Everybody's there.
you and I were early adopters of it, but that's what's going to start happening. There's a shakeup in media. I think that you know what? I'm just thinking about this and after the DNC like they were trying to make it like beefing between like traditional journalists and creators and oh like who should be in the space and my argument was we need to collaborate. Like I cannot do the kind of work that journalists do. They are trained in that stuff. I don't know how to
100%.
source and do all the things that they do. That's something you go to school for. But I sure as hell loved you and I post the articles all the time and share them with our audience who might not be reading the news like us. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to say it again. We need to collaborate more
Join forces.
and
I
join
also want
forces.
to make a point. I also want to make a point on this. In regards to the mainstream media, they don't have the social reach that we do.
They don't.
Straight straight up, they don't. So I think, the leaders are thinking that mainstream media and news is like the way that we're going to win the revolution, but it's going to be
Oh,
digital. And
yes.
um, I think I'm really hoping now that there is some changing up that we will join forces because if we don't, I don't really know what's going to be next for
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think we need to join forces. We're going to make that happen. And I think the final call to action is just like circling back to this is your sign. If you're listening, if you listened this long, this is your sign to now do something, post something, like that post, start dipping your toes into the waters, whether it's starting to post political stuff on your Instagram that was mostly just about your kid, going to that town hall meeting that you saw listed on Facebook, uh, bringing up politics with your friends. Like if you're
right.
sitting at brunch and you're like, how are we talking about this vapid thing when there's a fascist takeover of our country. And again, listen, you can also talk. We also have to talk about dumb stuff too, because we can't let that bog down our joy forever. But if you feel like your friend group is just ignoring stuff and needs to talk about it, bring it up. Bring it
Agreed.
up. And that's a form of activism too. Start educating yourself in history of authoritarian regimes and start a book club.
Buy
There's
those books, buy the books before we won't be able to get them anymore. But
yeah.
bottom line is, while we still have a right to free speech, we hope all of you guys will exercise that.
Yeah, exercise your free speech, friends.
Yep.
And on that note,
I think that's going to wrap us for today.
and we will be back next week.
Right.
Have a great night, everyone. Great day, great night, whatever you want to have.